Austin was sharing a little bit with me when I first met him and the first time I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no way. Like that. That sounds like it came right off of the front page of a news story.
Yeah.
And then the more I got to know you and the more I heard about that journey, it's inspiring. And it's something that if somebody is in that situation right now or knows someone in that situation right now, it would be so helpful for them to understand that there is something more that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you'd be willing to just share where you came from and a little bit about how you navigated to where you are now, I think that would be really beneficial.
You know, tying this into the subject matter with it being, as it pertains to ego, it's really interesting because I've lived like all the way, you know, in my company now, the Final Percent, all the way on each side. And it came from me watching the ego from when I was a young kid because I had an extraordinarily poor family. And I still remember getting made fun of because I didn't have the right jeans on. I was the kid who had to get help with the lunch money at school. And then my parents would have to make up the difference. And if we didn't have it, I would go there and use the little card system they had, and I'd have my tray of stuff ready, and I'd go to checkout, and they would literally not let me have lunch. And I just remember the looks on other people's faces on what that kind of did to me and what it was making me at that moment. And I think there's a lot of people who are running into specifically the constant pursuit of more. And when you are in a state of lack, or at least from a mental standpoint, you tend to try to overcompensate in absolutely every place that you possibly can. So you get into these conversations like, oh, I'm the world's first trillionaire, when they know that's not true. Or I've got all these cars, and my other car's in the shop. My other car's the Batmobile. I've got houses all over the world. And so you get into these things, and you know, I actually had a podcast last night with a really good friend of mine. He goes by Ben Humble. And I asked him, I said, what's intentionality mean to you? And we talk about in coaching, you know, what people are looking for, this silver bullet. What makes it okay? And I teach, when I'm helping people, I teach people all the time, like, you have to kill the silver bullet, because they think they paid you to do something, now everything's going to be easy. And it's not the way it works. You've never seen, you know, Bill Belichick hop on the field and show his quarterback how it's done a couple times in the middle of a game. It's just not how coaching works. But I asked Ben, hey, how do you be intentional? What's the secret sauce? And he immediately, without hesitation, just goes, stop lying. Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to other people. Just stop lying. And I think ego is kind of the art of lying. And so I went through a lot of things. You know, there was a chapter in my life where I really just wanted any kind of significance. So I would tell anybody anything they needed to hear until, and you know, going all the way back, I actually hacked into an investment bank and took a bunch of money, and I was flying to Las Vegas. This is when I was like 19. And I'm doing the most illegal things that you possibly can. And I had like $30,000 in my pocket, and I'm flying my friends to Vegas, flying my friends to Santa Monica, and I'm doing all this craziness, all because of ego. Because I want to be the guy, because I always had no money. I'd never had anything. And one time, and this is when my life really, really changed. I was getting ready to go on a trip with my friends because, you know, I was a cool guy with money. So yeah, everyone wanted to be my friend. I opened the door, got the money in my pocket. I opened the door and my dad's standing there. And he looks at me and I go, you live in North Carolina, so
what are you doing here?
Why are you here? And he looks at me and he says, Greg, the fantasy's over and it's time to come back to reality. And then my mom walked up. And then my friends walked up. And I realized at that moment that my life was over. And I thought, I thought, how am I ever going to rebuild from this moment? Because everyone knows the truth of what's going on. And my dad looks at me and he says, I should have done this so long ago. And he hugs me. Because my dad was always in the pursuit of, I have to work for the family, I have to provide, and we never had enough. And I just remember just breaking down into tears as he hugged me, and he goes, we're going to get through this. And I had all my friends there, my family. I didn't realize that that's actually the wealth of life, the people that you have in your life. And when you find people who are willing to go through something like that with you, when you've been lying to everybody, that's a place that you can build from. And I will never forget that feeling. And I think that's why I made that choice. It's like, I don't care what I have to do. I'm not going to lie to myself or anyone ever again. I can't do it.